Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher here alongside Adam Caplan, and it's hard to believe this as we sit down and record this podcast, but this is one of the last preseason / training camp podcasts that we're going to do, which heavily involves talking about how the team is doing, how individuals are doing. You know, most people listen to this Thursday morning, some on Friday, but by Monday morning, when we drop our next podcast, that's going to have to be our 53-man roster prediction podcast, Adam, because cuts this year are going to be early. They're going to be on Tuesday the 31st, not Labor Day weekend as they've been in the past. So once we get past Monday's podcast, our 53-man projection, our next one on Thursday. So a week from today will be kind of a regular season look ahead podcast. The training camp will, it's weird because there's more time now between the cutdown and the start of the regular season. Do you consider will you consider next week's podcast on Thursday to be preseason or regular season podcast? This is a big decision.
I would say it's a mixture because what we're going to we'll drop. What we're going to do is we're going to predict.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to predict our 53 for Monday's show. The next Thursday, I would say, okay, what's the roster look like? Right. Yeah, obviously it's a roster review. Yeah, sure.
Right. Because they'll also have probably made their move. You know,
they'll have the
cut down to 53, then you make your waiver wire move. Yep. So we'll have encapsulated it all by Thursday.
Oh, it'll be
look forward.
Yeah, it'll be a total roster review. Oh, 100%. The whole show will be roster review.
Right.
Then the Monday of week one will be what we would do, right? Don't we whenever we start getting ready for week one and week one.
Yeah.
But it is weird, like you said, not having a fourth preseason week. Do you like that, by the way? I don't know what to think.
I don't know what to think. It sort of I feel like it makes my summer last a little longer because, you know, you're not focused on a game or anything, but then it kind of accelerates the regular season format in that, you know, the Eagles will probably, I guess, I mean, I don't know, they'll do their Monday practice, have Tuesday off, Wednesday, Thursday start to prepare for the team. And then we're going to have our pregame show coming up soon. It just means we have a lot of work to get done. That's all I know, but I look forward to doing it. We have a lot to talk about on this podcast. The reason why I was trying to put you on the spot is, right, that when we label our podcasts and put them up on Anchor or wherever people listen to them on Apple, right, we have seasons. We're technically at the end of season 3 here because I don't start the next season until like it's the next regular season. So I'm kind of wondering when we turn the page and call it season 4 of Inside the Birds. It's either going to be next Thursday or perhaps the following one on Monday. Okay. So we're talking about like September, 5th or 6th at that point? I can't, I'm bad at math, right? The following one, maybe the 7th, that might be our season 4 where we all begin because we got some announcements to make for the upcoming season too. See what I'm. There's a method to my madness here.
I would love for us to be able to announce something, but we're like it in the media business. Everything comes down to week one. Every media deal that you and I are trying to put together for our company.
Right.
It's fun, but we just don't know how these things are going to end. But thank goodness the people we're talking to currently are good people, and they want to work with us, and vice versa. So we'll see what happens.
No doubt, we got a lot of interesting things that we look forward to bringing to the platform. So just stay tuned on that. Look, we had a really good week this week. I thought from an interview standpoint, we had our podcast. We had a wonderful. I hope people have a chance to check it out. A wonderful interview that's on ITB TV. It's on our platforms with former Eagles. He had 2 labels. He was assistant linebackers coach, but really more importantly, he was the in-game analytics project guy for Doug Peterson. His name is Ryan Paganetti. His brother TJ remains on the staff as a coach. Ryan is no longer with the team, but he was the guy in the booth that advised Doug on, do we go for it here on 4th down? Should we go for 2 after this touchdown? He gave Doug all the percentages, the data, and they worked on that throughout the week too. But I don't want to make it seem like his job was only for 3 hours on Sunday. But Ryan took us inside what that was like, how much Doug embraced it, how important it was to the 2017 team that won the Super Bowl, and also just how Jeffrey and Howie and the organization, how they use analytics both in-game and also separately with their analytics staff. Because remember, he wasn't a part of the analytics staff. He's a little bit different as far as in-game decisions. But I thought there was some really fascinating intel about how things work in the NovaCare from an analytics viewpoint, Adam, in that interview.
He has a story. It was wonderful. It was actually, it was a long one. It was over 45 minutes. Ryan had so much information, but one of the things that stood out among most is that Giants call, that 4th and 8. And I had such a problem with it when they did it. And I'm not going to give this one away, but you have to hear. It's really interesting what Ryan said, and you start to understand what his relationship with Peterson was. Obviously, they're very close,
right? And
I wanted us to figure out what was Doug's buy-in. We talked about that. Jeffrey Lurie's inclusion and all that, because there are a lot of things about this we didn't know. I didn't know Ryan, so I he had reached out and said he's doing some media. Right. He listened to our show, he enjoyed it, and we were like, great, you sound like a nice guy, and we had him on, and it went way better than I expected. Because the great thing about when you have someone on our show that we've never had on before, there are some times if you don't know someone, you don't know what's going to happen. And he was phenomenal. The storytelling was absolutely great. And he's definitely, if he wants to go in the media, he's definitely got a future in it if he wants to.
Yeah, he's bright. He's articulate. He tells good stories. I agree with you. The big takeaway, and I'll let people listen for themselves, but the big takeaway and why you should really listen for the in-depth part of it is because it'll help you kind of sort of understand or maybe wonder where the Eagles are going in the future with this. Because as Ryan pointed out, with Doug Peterson, he said Jeffrey pulled him aside and said, look, Doug, we're a big fan of analytics and what the data says. So if you have to make an unpopular decision that all of Philadelphia is going to hate, but it's the right decision analytically, you have my support, right? You absolutely have my unwavering support. Don't worry what the city says about you. And so that said a lot because you saw how aggressive Doug was in 4th down situations. Now, Ryan also had a chance before things changed with the staff to sit down and talk with Nick Sirianni, and he kind of explains what kind of feel he got from Nick as opposed to what he had with Doug from an analytics standpoint. So I'll just, look forward to everybody kind of reading that. But that's very important because you and I talk about Jeffrey Lurie and Howie and how they have allowed analytics to become such a big part of their operations. And for Jeffrey to say, hey, don't worry, I got you when all the city is going to be against you on these decisions, just shows you their belief in what they do. And I want to parlay that into to this podcast, Adam, because we've been getting a lot of questions about these shorter preseason practices or shorter camp practices, and also the fact that starters are barely playing in the preseason. And I'm not sure starters are going to even play Friday night against the Jets. Certainly nothing that Nick Sirianni said in the last 24, 48 hours suggests that you're going to see them, but we'll see. We don't know for sure. But people have asked, well, who's really calling the shots on this? Is this a Nick Sirianni decision, or is this a decision that comes from up above? So I know you've looked into it. I've looked into it. And when you dig into it, you start to just connect some really obvious dots. One team that we know of that does not play its starters in the preseason, and now this year is also not playing significant backups, is the Rams. All right, the Rams. And that's happened ever since Sean McVay got there. Sean McVay is big into sports science, right? He doesn't play starters, and this year, Adam, he hasn't even been playing key reserves, right? Well, if you recall, and I know you know this, Adam, but for our listeners, when Howie Roseman redid this medical staff for like the second time in 3 years, one of the big central figures in their medical and sports science department is Ted Rath. Ted Rath? Is it Rath or Rath?
It's Rath. Yes.
Rath. What team did he come from?
The Rams.
The Rams. So all of this, as Ryan Pagnetti told us in the interview, Jeffrey Lurie may have had his issues with Chip Kelly, but one thing he loved about him was the technological advances, and a lot of that sports science stuff was kept over. Josh Hangst and Sean Holes were retained from the staff. Those guys were big into the sports science and the smoothies and things like that. Well, it's pretty clear here. Every time when Nick Sirianni is asked about the short practices and these games and starters not playing, he says it is a collective decision, and he always mentions many people on the staffs. Well, I think it's pretty clear when you connect the dots that a lot of these decisions right now have a lot of influence from Ted Rath and his sports science / medical background.
Yeah, no doubt. There definitely is a sports science, but the difference between the Rams and Eagles is that the differences are simple. The Eagles are willing to play and have played their starters. For the Rams, they did this with Gurley, Goff, Now Stafford has not taken a snap in the preseason. That's and talking to the Raiders, it sounds like they're going to hold out their starters, their key starters this week for sure, particularly on offense. But the other part about this before we move on, and we were talking about this on the last show, and it's definitely true now. There's no set way teams are doing it. It used to be when every team had at least 4 preseason games.
Right. There was a formula.
Right. It was first game, either the starters don't play or they play 1 or 2 series. Second game, a quarter. Third game was the dress rehearsal game. We play half or into the third quarter, depending on what the coaches felt they needed to see from the players. And then the fourth preseason game, the starters basically didn't play. Now, you don't have the fourth preseason game. And what Nick Sirianni said on Wednesday when I was at the Jets camp was interesting. And this is not just him doing this. Other teams think the same way. These joint practices, he said, over a 2-week period, we basically had 7 games. You had 2 preseason games. You have the tomorrow. You've got the Jets game. Last week you got the Patriots game, and then you got really would be 6, not 7. I don't know why he said 7, but you had 2 sets of joint practices. So that's 6 that's 6 opportunities to practice against an opponent. Right. So and what happens is these joint practices are they are way more physically exerting than they would be in a normal practice. And the other thing is, and this is really key, on Wednesday it was in the high 90s. I don't usually drink a lot of water at practice. I had 4 or 5 bottles. That's a lot for me at practice, and I'm not doing anything other than standing there. Right. So yeah, that's going to be taxing on your body. And you mentioned it, Ted Raff, sports science. Sports science is a big thing for the Eagles. So it would surprise me if any of the starters play, if they do, but very little. And I know that the Panthers, when I was with them last week, they felt that because they also, like the Eagles, they had back-to-back weeks where they had joint practices. They felt their guys were worn down, and they didn't want to play the starters very much, and they didn't their second game, but they still did play some starters.
Right. By the way, I checked and I noticed that for the last 3 years, the Rams were among the teams that lost the fewest players for the year on injured reserve, the last 3 years. So clearly it's worked for them. We'll see if that's the same with the Eagles. You can understand the mentality with all the veterans that the Eagles have, especially in the trenches and all the injuries that they've had in the past. As far as the joint practices being like the games, good reason to listen to Q&A because those 2 guys not only played for the Eagles, but they also did participate in joint practices, and they like joint practices. They disagree, and I won't give it all away because you have to figure out why they disagree with the idea that you can equate the competitiveness of a joint practice to a preseason game. They're not sold that just because you really worked yourself over for 2 days in joint practices, that prepares you for the season as much of a preseason game. And there's some science behind that. Listen to Q&A to determine why. And I'll just leave it on this. I think it'll be fascinating to see the opener against Atlanta, how the starters do from start to finish, because really they have not had an environment in which they've been on the field for prolonged period of time. In practice, first team, then second team's on, then third team's on. And then, of course, in preseason games, they either have only played in short spurts or not played at all. So you'll have to hope that their conditioning is there from start to finish against Atlanta when they start the season September 13th.
Oh, and that game will be indoors. But, yeah, you're right, because this will be the first time that they're going to have to go full throttle. So we'll see what kind of condition they're in. But It was good. It was good to be with the Jets and the Eagles this week. I could tell you, I enjoyed this one. It was, and as you said earlier, to start this show, that's it. I mean, the training camp is over for the Eagles. And now for all NFL teams, and now they got their preseason games, and then they cut down to 53, and then the next day you've got the waiver claims plus the practice squad, and that's going to be so much fun when we do the show for this coming Monday. Those last 4 or 5 spots, I've already done a mock 53-man roster. I'm trying to figure okay, do I have this guy on or off? On or off? I don't know. I need to check on that. I need to get some intel,
Wait, you've already started? You're not waiting for that third and very critical preseason game?
Right. Well, no, but that's what this game is not for the starters. It's for those bottom 10 guys, and it's hard. It's like Marlon Tuipulotu, right, who we know the Eagles coming into the process after the draft they're very high on. Well, he hasn't done much. He is not just what our eyes tell us, it's what we've heard. He's not had a good camp. Now, he's got ability, but he's a 2-down D tackle.
Right.
Who's a run stopper. I know you'd said you'd heard, and I'm sure it's true, that he had some a little bit of juice as a pass rusher. Unfortunately, that tape from USC, it has not taken place here.
Right.
And he's probably, of the draft picks, one of the guys where you go, you know what? It just hasn't happened for him, and I don't know that it will.
That's right. I feel like the new challenge should be predicting the 53-man roster, say 36 hours later, because it's almost feeble to predict. Even if you accurately predict the 53-man right from the start, you know that 3 guys are probably going to be gone once the waiver claims are made. So it's even better if you can predict the 53-man 2 days after the cut. That's more special.
Asterisk. This guy is this. We got this guy on there, but he's a guy who we certainly could see cut.
Right, could see getting cut.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
All right, don't be a loser. Stop paying full retail price for the things you want. Get on Deal Dash. You can either go to DealDash.com or download the app. And when you register, use the promo code ITB for a special offer for bonus free bids. That's right. ITB gets you a special offer for some bonus free bids on Deal Dash. Let us talk, Adam, about some of the transactions that have come across lately. The big one being Joe Osman, who somebody on Twitter, it's almost like the Twitter gods were watching this guy. He tweets us like 2 days ago, "Why do you guys talk so much about Joe Osman? The guy can't play." Well, the reason why we talk about him was because when he was healthy, he was among those getting reps on first team. We can't just ignore him.
Yeah.
And then secondly, he had a concussion that the symptoms were lasting for a while. So
that's a bad one. Yeah, that's a shame. I hope he's okay. That you don't cut players with a concussion, wave injure, unless it's a bad one. I mean, that's just my opinion, but players don't get cut for concussions unless they're pretty significant. So hopefully it clears up soon, but we'll see what they do later on, where they want to reach an injury settlement. But Keem Butler cut, and Harry Kreider, who I believe will have a chance to be on the practice squad. He's a decent developmental player.
Right.
Keem Butler, they try. What's that?
Harry Kreider's your guy.
I just like the name. I don't know. Harry. You don't see a lot of Harry players, guys with the first name Harry. But Keem Butler, they tried. He just doesn't run well enough. He was a really good college football player at Iowa State, but if you're big and you don't run very well, it's going to be hard for you to make it. And that, I know they converted him to tight end, but they moved him back to receiver due to numbers, and those numbers, unfortunately, are still thin. It's another thing. Very clear. By the way, before we get to some of the injuries, it's one thing to look at a depth chart, and it's one thing to see it up close. They're super thin at receiver. Like they don't have anyone who's done anything really. We know Greg Ward is, he's a nice player for what he is as a slot receiver. Devontae Smith's has a chance to be a star. But after that, who do they have who's done anything in the National Football League?
No, I think that's what we've talked about for the last 3 weeks now, about how perilous this wide receiver position can be. And if you listen to the latest Q&A, you'll find some agreement with us on that, because they're concerned about the position as well.
I would be, yeah. I'll be
an interesting name to target as a veteran, who I thought was interesting, but you can listen to it to find out yourself.
Okay.
Going back to Osman, that really, his injury, or his waiving, I should say now, leaves them with just 2 viable candidates to play that Sam linebacker role, which is not a starting role. It's a situational role for the Eagles, and that would be Jannard Avery, who's nursing groin injury right now. We'll talk about that. And then also the rookie Patrick Johnson. And I just want to clarify, because some people have asked us about, didn't we say Ryan Kerrigan was going to play that position? What we've said about Ryan Kerrigan is that we expect him to be kind of a stand-up rusher. He's played like an outside linebacker, but the Sam that we're talking about here with either Patrick Johnson or Jannard Avery would be more hybrid. I mean, you'd want these guys to be able to drop a little bit and understand spatial awareness and things like that. So I'm not sure that is what we actually said. You can't expect Ryan Kerrigan to be dropping into coverage. It's not
no chance. No, what I'd said, I've repeated this, I don't know how many times. You're going to see some times now we'll get to Kerrigan in terms of his injury, because I was able to learn some stuff. But with Kerrigan, once he gets moving, once he gets over the broken thumb, and once he's back to normal, I couldn't tell you what week that's going to be, because they don't know. So if they don't know, I don't know. But I do know this. Once he's back to normal, some people will call him a linebacker. I just call him a pass rusher, because you're going to see him standing up and you're going to see him playing with his hand down. When he stands up, he's going to be over the football. Now, you want to call him a linebacker, that's fine, but he's not a strong side linebacker. He's a pass rusher.
Right.
He's brought here to do one thing: rush the passer. As Bill Cowher said at Greg Lloyd, rush the quarterback. That's what he's here to do.
There you go. All right. So when we talk about that Sam linebacker spot, and we'll get into this more as we get closer to 53, neither of those guys are proven. I mean, Jannard Avery has basically just been a pass rusher in the NFL, and Patrick Johnson is a rookie. Was he a 6th or a 7th? He was the 7th or the 7th.
He was a 7th,
right?
Yep.
So you're asking a lot for a guy to be ready to play maybe 30% of a game as a 7th round pick, even if he has been impressive. So it'll kind of be interesting to see what Jonathan Gannon does in terms of his scheme and how much he can use that Sam linebacker spot from the start and how much play that guy will get.
Yeah, and a lot of things we were told back in February are still true, but like 25-30% of it, I have no idea. Like you mentioned the Sam linebacker. I don't know if that guy's going to play. If it's Avery and he's not traded, if he's still here and he's their number one Sam, I don't know if that's 10 plays a game or 30 plays a game. I have no idea.
Right.
I don't know if they know. Gannon obviously has a idea in mind, but I don't know if because Anthony Barr is 6'5" and long arms. Avery is a shorter guy with longer arms, but he's not the same ability as. But Barr's a really good football player.
Well, yeah, he's a starter. He plays almost the entire game.
They actually right, and he actually plays a lot. So it's hard to compare that. That's the difference between the Vikings defense and this one. There's certain players won't translate to what they were doing in Minnesota as much. Right. So that one we don't know.
All right, you were at the Jets joint practice. Let's talk about some other injured players. Obviously, Kevon Wallace, groin, so he's been out. Yep. He did not participate in those practices, correct?
Yeah, so here you go. I'll do the injuries real quick. So Kerrigan, right thumb is casted. What he's doing at practice is he's dressed fully, where if you didn't know better, you're like, he's back practicing. Not quite. He's actually taking mental reps the entire practice as if he were playing. But he's just not. He can't put his thumb down yet. It's his right thumb because it has to heal because you could see it casted. So I don't know that he's going to be ready week 1 yet. I don't know. So we'll have more on our next show. We'll have a little bit more, but that's where he is right now. We've just because people had asked us in recent weeks, what's up with Kerrigan? We've told you what his role is going to be. Nothing's changed in the 3 months he's been here, whatever it's been. He's a stand-up pass rusher. He's a pass rusher with his hand down. I don't know that he'll do. Maybe I couldn't tell you if his hand will be down 75% of the time or 25. I have no idea. I just know that they saw him a specific way. You're not going to ask him to do things he hasn't done before. He excelled as a stand-up pass rusher with Washington. That's what he's great at. It's not like he hasn't done both, but he very early in his career, he became a stand-up pass rusher. He's done that most of his career, so I expect him to do that a decent amount here. But again, with his thumb, because I was watching him, he can't put his thumb down on the ground right now, so they got to wait till it's healed. Kevon Wallace, you mentioned with the groin. Barnett did not work with the shoulder. Jannard Avery with his. Didn't you mention his second groin injury, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I think he has a right and a left groin injury, doesn't he?
Ooh, so let's see.
You can only have two. Nobody's got a center groin, I don't think.
Not as far as I know.
Yeah,
Davion Taylor. Mystery. Well, I'm sorry.
Unless he's a medical mystery.
Yes, it's a new one. Yes. And Davion Taylor has a calf strain, so he's who the heck knows when he's back. Couple good news nuggets here. The Raven Clark worked in team on Tuesday, and Wednesday I saw him getting reps. Limited. They don't practice him a lot, but the good thing is he took team reps as a second team tackle. Dillard's back with a sprained knee. He took some reps as a second team tackle. So that was good. Javon Hargrave's fine with his ankle. Jake Elliott's fine. In fact, I saw him booming him. I was watching him because when they have special teams, when they're not doing special teams, and the way, by the way, the way the setup was, so they practiced basically on two fields, but because of the COVID issue, they don't want you too close to the field. Mm-hmm. So what we had is I was on top of a roof to watch both fields because if you're at field level, you couldn't see the other field. But the other problem is that if they were on the other field and in the opposite end zone, you couldn't see very well.
That's
so
rough.
when I kind of get a chuckle out of when reporters start trying to do play-by-play at practice, there's no way they saw it clearly. Zero chance.
Right.
The only thing you could do is talk to someone who works for the team and say, "Hey, is this right? Because I couldn't see it."
Mm-hmm.
And I I have like HD glasses because I need them. This
HD glasses.
yeah, they're by CI Eyewear. They're pretty souped up, and they bring everything close to me because I can't past 20 yards. I struggle, but I could see pretty well these glasses. I couldn't. And the other thing is, Geoff, the new thing is not just the Eagles. A lot of teams do this in hot weather. They roll their jerseys up.
Oh yeah.
So you can't tell. Wait, is that a 4? Is that
is that 96 or 98
or
8? Yeah,
right.
I totally get that. Yep.
Exactly. And I'm like, I can't see. How the hell could you get that right?
Right. Yeah. So wait, I wanted to get back to you on something then.
Okay.
With Raven Clark now practicing.
Yeah.
And again, we'll get to this.
It looks okay. I mean,
a little more, but it really kind of it throws your thought process into a spin cycle here, trying to figure out these backup spots. You got your 5 offensive linemen. Landon Dickerson, I assume, is going to be on the 53-man roster because otherwise you'd have to put him on IR for the year, and then you're lost for the year. So you might be able to IR him after he makes the 53. But for the 53 purposes, if you want him to play this year, he's got to be on the 53 after the cutdown date. So that's 6 right there.
Yep.
So you've got Jack Driscoll as 7. You've got Andre Dillard, you've got Raven Clark, and you've got Nate Herbig. And am I missing somebody there? No, but that's 3 for potentially 1 or 2 spots, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I'd be surprised if Suapeta made it. I really would be.
Right. So we've got our definite 6, probably going to keep 8 or 9.
They'll keep 9. They're going to keep 9. Yeah, I'm pretty confident.
All right. So let's say Dickerson is 6, Driscoll is 7, no particular order.
Yep.
Dillard 8.
Yep.
Herbig 9. Is Clark on the outside looking in no matter what?
I'm not. I think they'll keep 9 or 10.
That's a lot.
The challenge is this: do they keep Whiteside because he's a draft pick? To me, I know he's been better. We've heard that, but is he good enough really to be on this team?
Arcega-Whiteside?
Yeah, because
I understand what you're saying. You go heavy on offensive lineman. You can go light at wide receiver.
Right,
but
go 5.
At this point, you can't go too light at wide receiver. Who's your 5th wide receiver?
Well, right now,
Whiteside could be the 5th receiver without even being.
Hang on. Ward, Rager, Smith are 3. Watkins are 4. Fulgham's 5.
All right, that's so Fulgham's definitely the 5th.
Yeah,
I don't see him over Arcega-Whiteside.
Here's why, and I know, like for instance, okay, we'll get into what I saw in practice. Let me just tell you, on Tuesday he was phenomenal. I don't care what any.
That's good.
I'm not going to criticize any of the nonsense that's out there, folks. I've said this forever. Trust whoever you want to trust. It's your life. Do whatever you want, but at least evaluate that person knowing football who's putting stuff out there. It's just some of the. It's so embarrassing. Some of the stuff that's
out there that Fulgham did not have a good day.
I'm not going to get into it. It's so pathetically wrong. In fact. They like to make the Eagles like to make fun of some of the people. They laugh at some of the, I call it reporting. It's just what your observations. Learn the game, folks. If you're going to criticize a player, please learn the game first before you mention it. I've learned the hard way not to say stupid shit. Okay, I'm not perfect. Every once in a while, I'll make a dumb mistake about what I think I saw, but I like to run up the flagpole. Hey, is this right? And then I'll get yelled at. What are you talking about? Okay, that's why I'm asking you. What did you see?
So Fulgham had a good first day or second day against.
Second day, he was excellent on Tuesday. He had 1 drop. I mean, that doesn't make it a bad practice.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. Okay,
I mean,
that's good.
Yeah, no, he circus catches, balance.
I mean, clearly, he needed that. One thing you and I can confirm is that he was in the doldrums for about a week and a half, if not longer, there. So he needed that.
I would say, Geoff, after week one, he definitely had some good days. It's been steadily downhill where he clearly was demoted. Now Watkins. He clearly earned his playing time, but the regular season is interesting because Ward's got his role as a slot. We don't know what that means in Sirianni's offense. There's a lot we don't know about this offense. We kind of know in terms of structure, it's more of West Coast based on route combinations and so forth and how deep the routes will be, and it's run after the catch. That we know, but we don't know what does it mean for the slot receiver. How much slot will Rager see? How much slot will Smith see? Will they be all rotational? And as Sirianni said, and it was interesting, he gave a little bit more insight on his offense. We know that he doesn't like to get pigeonholed with X, Y, and Z in terms of receiver roles. Right. But I don't agree with him. Greg Ward's not an outside receiver. He basically, they all could. He said the good thing about this group, they all could play inside or outside. Greg Ward's not an outside receiver. He's just not.
That is correct. That's true. He has played there, but you're right.
Yeah.
Over the long haul, he is not effective
Correct.
outside. I remember once Jordan Matthews lined up on the outside and caught a touchdown.
Oh, against Tennessee?
I think it was against Tennessee.
Yeah,
He'd done it a couple of times, but one time was because a quarterback fell. I think that was against New Orleans.
Yeah.
But yeah, he caught one against Tennessee, and it's like, the hard-headed folks like to would just go after anybody who said he can't play the outside because he did it once.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, that doesn't make you a very good outside receiver because you once or twice in your career did it, right? I mean, 80%, 90% of his production came from the slot for a reason. And so, yes, Greg Ward did have a couple of outside touchdowns last year. I want to say the game was the Bengals where he caught one on the outside. From Carson Wentz, but nonetheless, he is best as an inside slot receiver. That is the truth. All right.
Yep.
Last injury was Hargrave. He's got an ankle.
He's fine. Yeah, he's fine.
Right. Thank God for them because that's
he's the man now, dog. He is an absolute stud. Let me tell you something, folks. As we'll get into the review in a minute of kind of what I saw and what we heard and so forth. But let me just tell you something. Their D-line absolutely abused the Jets. I mean, I've been a lot of joint practice before. The Wednesday practice was more spirited than the Tuesday practice, but they absolutely manhandled the Jets offense. It was actually not fair at times. I'm like, to the point where I'm like, are the Jets putting their best guys out there? What is going on here?
Now, did Becton play the second day for I know he threw up, right? Or something
like that? He didn't feel right. He left.
Oh, okay.
He left. And then George Fant, the former basketball player, George Mason, I think it was.
Yeah.
He came in. I did not notice him, to be honest with you, because this Wednesday I watched the Eagles offense and the Jet defense more.
Defense, right.
It was the vice versa on the other side on the other day because I want to get a look at both sides because it's hard, man. It's just hard to. That's why I'm very careful with saying a guy didn't look good unless I really know, unless someone backs that up. Because I know people want information and they want negativity if it's negative, but sometimes if it's warranted. But you want to be right because you don't want to lead people. You want them to learn about the players the correct way. But the Eagles D-line will. I would say this: the Eagles defensive and offensive lines will take this team as far as they're going to go. Not so much the quarterback. I mean, I think Hurts has a chance to do well,
right?
But they're going to win or lose because of the way their lines play. They're just so gifted. But the depth does concern me on the defensive line when I'm talking in the interior, not the end, but on the interior. I don't know what these guys are going to look like. The backup guys.
You pray for health. I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure Jonathan Gannon is. All right, we can talk about the joint practices. First, I want to tell everybody the NFL is back. I mean, we're talking about it. It's around the corner, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving all new players a can't-miss offer for week one. Bet just $1 on any NFL game during the first week of the season and receive $200 in free bets instantly, no matter what. Take advantage of this limited-time offer now. You heard it right. DraftKings is giving all new players $200 in free bets instantly when you place a bet of $1 or more on any week one game. So head to the DraftKings Sportsbook app now to check out all the great promotions and daily odds boosts. Plus, you can make every game a big game with same game parlays. That's right. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code ITB to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any week one game. That's promo code ITB to get your free $200 in free bets instantly for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers apply. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Adam, let's start with the offense, getting your observations from joint practices. Of course, we should talk about Jalen Hurts and what you've seen. And I have a theory about Jalen, but I'm going to first ask you what you felt good, bad, medium. What did you think?
I would say medium. I would say some good, some need to be better. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I like is that he's and I've known this. Some people at practice might not agree, but I just know that certain people who would definitely know would agree with me. Mm-hmm. He's not looking to run as much. Last year at this time, one and a half reads, run. What he's doing here is he scrambles, waits. Now he does need to get rid of the ball quicker. That's definitely true. But he's not looking to run. He wants the play to develop, and that's what you want. That is so key because the thing is, Devontae Smith, I've covered this business 21 years, and I've seen some great, talented receivers. And I'd really have to ask some receivers coaches who they've seen better with releases. I don't think they covered his release from the line the Jets once. I know the Jets corners are not very good. They're the two kids who are going to start. Bless Austin, who's a nice find for them. He is number 31, who was a 6th rounder 2 years ago. And I'm guessing Bryce Hall from UVA. I think, UVA. Who should have been drafted higher. I'm surprised he lasted to the 5th round. But they're marginal starters. It was not fair, this kid. He was unbelievable getting off the line. And one-on-ones, it's like, I'm not kidding. When you hear, when you see like Allen Iverson with his crossover, he'd break ankles.
Yeah.
These guys, I felt they didn't know where he was going.
Right.
He's so explosive. It was like a Looney Tunes cartoon where the Roadrunner would run and the dust would come up.
Right.
It was unbelievable. This guy getting off the line. It was something to see.
It's a good point you raised, because a lot of the rookies that you see come in and do well from the start in the NFL are usually the bigger physical types, so that if they're not winning with great releases, they're winning with big body or catch radius. I'm talking about like a DK Metcalf, for example, or a Keenan Allen. Not that these guys don't have good footwork, I'm just talking about year one. You saw them be able to win on contested catch and physicality, maybe more so than just being one of the best route runners in the league. You don't see a lot of young, Adam Thielen is a guy. Now he was undrafted, but he has tremendous footwork. He actually wins on his releases and his footwork more so than contested catch or anything else. He has unbelievable feet. But he wasn't even I think he was undrafted, right?
He was. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the ceiling for Devontae Smith, who has it all, but that really wins right from the snap. I think he could have one of the best rookie years ever for an Eagles wide receiver, as long as the offense is functional, just because he already has that part down. Can you think of a rookie? You start to think of the guys who succeeded in the league early on, just like I mentioned, and they tend to be the bigger, stronger contested catch guys.
Sure. Metcalf, right? Sure.
Right. Sure. I mean, last year, Higgins did well. I'm trying to think of some of the better.
Jefferson 6'1".
Oh, Jefferson. That's a great. I said Adam Thielen, and I left out Jefferson. I feel like Jefferson is a guy who wins with releases as well. I mean, he has. Oh man, Eagles fans are going to hate to hear us say that, but he has great footwork and great setup and an understanding of how to get open. Right.
Right, and that understanding how to get open comes from playing at Alabama in a pro offense. So yeah, he looks good. I thought Hurts. One of the things I really like is, and I've mentioned this before, and he needs to keep doing it, is when he knows where he's going, he plants that back foot and he drives it, he rolls his hips, the ball will come out. It doesn't have a great arm, but he's got just enough, and he'll make the throw. But again, I like that he's looking, he's scanning. He just needs to be quicker and be more decisive, get the ball out quickly. And I know they're working on that with him. Miles Sanders, I love watching him run. And I think he's actually going to be better as a runner this year. Greg Cosell told us how much he loved watching him this year because he got the dirty yards, tough. It's more physical last year. But there's such a difference between him and everybody else on the roster. Even Gainwell, we'll get to him in a second. Guy got some good stuff on him. But and I talked about how Smith gets off the line. His ability to go north and south and dart and cut and make under block defenders miss it's unique. We haven't seen this, quite frankly, since Westbrook. He's pretty special as a runner. And that has not ever been in question. It's just with his hands. Right. I don't understand it because the guy's explosive when he gets the ball in his hands, but he has some concentration issues. And I don't know that they're going to go away. That's why when it comes down to third down, Boston Scott and Gainwell, they're going to be involved, folks. That's just not going to go away. I don't, Miles, I don't know this as 100%, but I just know how coaches think. If you can't do the job well consistently, we'll bring somebody else in to help you. And,
all right. It's funny. You mentioned Westbrook, and I was having a conversation with him recently, and I was asking him in general, not about Miles, but with Miles in mind. I was asking him in general why some running backs who are known for catching passes seem to be able to catch the ball down the field better at times than across the middle, when it should be easier across the middle because there's less time for the ball to get to you and It's harder to track a ball downfield when you're not a wide receiver. And he said, the one thing you can't underestimate is that when you're a good enough running back to catch the ball down the field and you're behind the defense, you just look up. If you can track the football, you can make the catch. And you know the defense, you're already behind it. When you're trying to catch the ball across the middle and you're hearing the linebacker or the safety or just in general, you're trying to run a route that is either X amount in front of the linebacker, if it's zone, or X amount behind the linebacker. You have a lot of things going through your head, but especially among that, you have contact. You're going to get hit most likely pretty soon after you catch the ball. And that interferes a little bit with your brain. We hear about it all the time, guys, quote unquote, going over the middle and not wanting to get hit. So there's a different mentality. And clearly we've seen with Miles going back 2 years ago, he catches the deep ball fairly well. And even last year, I don't think there were too many deep balls to him last year that were accurate, but we saw he really just struggled with the shorter slants over the middle and the dump offs. So either they can try to build him in to go back to catching those deep ones, or he's just got to, whatever he's got to do to get himself mentally ready, because Adam, you know it, I know it. Nick Sirianni didn't even hide it in his last press conference yesterday. They want to get Kenny Gainwell on the field, and they're going to, as long as he can continue to handle it. I don't know if you heard his answer to the question about the running backs and catching the ball, but he talked about Miles, but then he immediately went, and we want to get our other running backs on the field who can catch passes, including Kenneth. And then he almost mentioned Boston Scott in passing, but he was talking about Kenny. They want Kenny on the field, man.
Let me tell you something. I don't know if I haven't asked in the last week or so about how many drop passes he's had. Mm-hmm. He has the best hands of the running backs. He's going to have I'm going to make a prediction. Now, we have 17 games, not 16. So I'm going to give him 45 catches of the season. That's a lot for a guy who's a backup. That's a lot. I know. But, okay, so that's less than 3 a game. I'm going to give him somewhere about 2.5 on average per game. But what we're going to see, and the reporters, I don't know if they even notice this stuff, but I do. I look at when he's lined up at the X position, which he was at Memphis. That's what Ryan Silverfield told us, their Memphis head coach. Right. He's going to be lined up at X sometimes. And I'm interested because he won in college. I'm interested to see if he could win at this level against better, faster, more athletic, stronger linebackers. Oh, by the way, Wednesday's practice, technically I don't think they were supposed to tackle him to the ground, but it was one of the most physical joint practices I've ever seen. It was hot as hell in the mid-90s, and guys were pissed off, and it was spirited, to say the least.
All right. I just went and looked, just because you said it, and it was the quickest comp I can come up with that's still playing right now of a pass-catching running back who really specializes in that more so than running, and is already on a team with a more of a ball carrier. I went and looked at Giovanni Bernard's stats, right? When he was a rookie with the Bengals, their main ball carrier was the law firm, Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
Oh,
all right. But Giovanni that year caught 56 passes on 71 targets, which is really good.
That's a
56
lot,
passes for 514 yards, while Ben Jarvis rushed for about 750 himself. I think Miles is going to get a little bit more than 750, but I now see what you're saying on the 45 catches as being pretty legit. That's legit.
Based on a 17-game season, 2.5 catches per game, it's 42.5 over 17 games. And I said 45.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling that they got something special in mind for him. I just know this is why I was so bullish on this guy before the draft. Mm-hmm. This was, the guy that we talked about a lot. We had Greg Cosell on. We had his coach on from Memphis, Silverfield. I just have a feeling like these coaches really wanted this guy. And he could do things that none of the other backs can do. And it's, Boston Scott's he's had a good camp. I don't want to denigrate him. He's had a very good camp, but he's not Kenny Gainwell. Kenny Gainwell's exceptional at catching the football. And think about it. They never would have been able to get him had he played last year. He would have been a 3rd-round pick had he left after his junior year. So he only played the 1 year, basically. And so other than that, Quez Watkins had his moments, as he always seems to in every practice. Rager made some really fine catches, but the thing that plagues him is these ridiculous drops where it's like, dude, use 2 hands. And he had a play where it happened right in front of me. And I'm like, why is he using 1 hand? And it was pointed out to him, use 2 hands. And it's this approach to every practice. You got to practice the same. You got to you just have to understand, like you can't take plays off. Not that he's trying to, but you gotta be mentally ready every single play. And that is, to me, the difference between last year, this year. This year he's better with it, and what he might be in years 3 or 4. But it's unacceptable. You can do this now. This is basic football stuff.
There you go. How about the tight ends? Notice anything from either Goddard or Jack Stoll or
Jack Stoll? We'll see. I don't know how much he's going to play as a third tight end. Well, again, this is dependent on Ertz. If Ertz is here, as a fourth tight end, I don't know. I don't know that he'll even dress.
Right.
We'll have to see what they do here. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if Ertz is here next week at this time, I do wonder, would they keep Stoll over Rodgers?
If Ertz is here, or would they just keep 4? Interesting that Noah Togiai got waived, by the way.
I know. Waived injured.
Was he waived injured? Yeah.
Interesting
stuff.
I don't know. It's just as we make this 53, because I'm looking at scenarios that maybe we're not aware of. So we'll have to see. But that's a thought. So there's food for thought. So
food for thought there.
So to finish off offense, Rager definitely had his moments. He definitely did, but he just got to be more consistent. Offensive line, their line dominated for the most part. What happened was, I think the Jets the players watched. This is a guess, but they must have watched the Tuesday tape where they got handled, and then they were way more spirited. They had some better plays, but you could just see the protection for Hurts was very good. Now the Jets losing the guy they got from the Bengals, whose name escapes me right now.
Losing Carl Hubbard. Carl Lawson, I mean.
Carl Lawson, yeah, Sam Hubbard. Yeah, right. No, exactly right. Losing Lawson, that's a killer. They just don't have any developed pass rushers. So
no, and God, what a shame about Vinny Curry. I don't know if you saw the news.
Yeah, I'm aware.
He had the spleen removed, I believe, and a surgery, and he's going to be out for the year. And that's really tough for the Jets to lose Lawson and Vinny, but even tougher for Vinny because I know how much he loves being out there, and it's been rough for him. So we hope he gets better.
Yes, absolutely. Best wishes to Vinny. So to finish off the offense, I would say the playmakers were Rager on occasion. Smith was incredible. Fulgham had a great Tuesday. I rather nondescript from what I could see on what I saw on Wednesday, but I would need more information. Watkins certainly made plays. Okay. But Devontae was the star to me. And that would be it for the offense. Ertz catches everything, man. I love watching him run routes. He just wins.
Definitely. Well, we'll see if he's on the team when all the dust.
I'll tell you what, though, if it were me, if you and I were on the show, I'd keep him. Why? I don't trust this receiver core. I think they're too young. Which is, it's good to be young, but I don't know that I trust them to get the job done. I want developed pass targets. I want reliable pass targets. Okay, Greg Ward, great. Devontae Smith, I'm buying.
Right.
After that, Goddard and Ertz if he's here. So unless I get really good value, I'm not trading him. Plus you got the trade deadline. If the team's not good, you still would have the trade deadline, but we'll see.
Very valid. All right, let's switch to defense. Before we do that, make sure you're checking out phlsportsnation.com. Our friends, they do a great job of enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all professional Philadelphia sports teams. Great content, great pods. You can check them out on Twitter at phlsportsnation, or just get everything you want at phlsportsnation.com. Now let's pause for another word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, if you go check out Sky Motor Cars out in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You'll get a great deal, or just head on over to skymotorcars.com. All right, the defense. It sounds like, the defensive line, Adam, came to play. This is going to be the strength of the team. We know that in the offensive line.
Yep.
What did you see did Barnett? I know Barnett's going through something with the shoulder, right?
Yeah, he didn't work. No,
so he didn't work at all.
No, he didn't work with his shoulder. So Josh Sweat, I hope his knee holds up for his career, because this kid is so. It's almost unfair because he's so long and his effort is so good. I'm still not comfortable with him standing up, though. I don't know. I don't know the guy, but he doesn't look natural doing it. He's okay with it. We're just watching him with my eyes, but when he plays with his hand down and he just swipes because he just grabs a lineman and moves him. But the big highlight, I may be the only media person who saw this on Tuesday. Fletcher Cox picked up one. It might have been Dan Feeney. I couldn't see the number, but I know they had Feeney out there as guard. He picked the guy up and tossed him. And
he does that occasionally. He'll just
hilarious.
displace a human being. He's
so funny. He just picks a guy up and tosses him. Now, see, I don't know why they didn't see the weight system in a normal practice without the other team. They would have called it sack. That's a sack. He got to Zach Wilson
right
in like a second and a half, but they let the play keep going, and then he rolled out and he hit somebody. That was a sack, though. And the fans are going crazy. I'm like, no, Cox got him. He got Wilson. He got a sack. Sweat, Cox, Hargrave definitely stood out. No question about it. As I said,
was there an emphasis on the run? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need after what we've seen in run defense in the 2 preseason games, could you see if there was any emphasis?
I couldn't tell
on running the ball, or did the Jets run at all? They got
they did. Well, they did. I mean, they have a rotation at running back for if you're a Jets fan or you play fantasy. Yeah, they definitely have a heavy rotation. I think Josh Adams probably won't make it, who led the Eagles in rushing in 2018, because he's way down on the depth chart. Because if you look at the guys that are running for them, Tevin Coleman's heavily involved because he knows the offense. Michael Carter, who they love out of North Carolina, and then it's Ty Johnson, who could return, who's a changeup, and LaMichael Piron's a power back who they drafted last year. But Eagles defense, look, this front 4 is nasty. They've got depth at the end. Obviously, once Kerrigan comes back, they got great depth there. They got 4 guys. That's depth, folks. If you got 4 guys you all feel good about, you're great. You don't need 5 guys. Plus, Milton Williams could play DN. They don't need to keep 5 DNs at all. There's no reason to. Like Teron Jackson, they may like him, but how do you justify keeping him when, I mean, you're going to have to go skinny somewhere else. We'll see.
Right.
I don't know yet. And then
how'd the secondary do? Because the Jets have some decent receiver. They got some speed there with Corey Davis, and they got Elijah Moore moving out of practice in the.
He did. He did. Elijah Moore came back from his quad. In fact, that was a big story for the Jets is that he returned. And the thing is, folks, if you're in for fantasy purposes, they're lining him up everywhere. As a matter of fact, I'll make a prediction. He'll line up more outside than the inside. Crowder's back as their slot number 82. And they have a formation, which is going to come. They're going to play them both at the same time. And I'll tell you what, they're going to be better offensively, but their problem is their line is very average, if not below average.
Yeah, I got no pass rushers either. Although Quinton Williams, and who's the D tackle they got back? They have Quinton Williams and somebody else on the interior line who's pretty good. Can't remember the name now, but
they've got Sheldon Rankins.
Yeah, I mean he's a decent interior lineman. Yeah,
former first round pick. Yeah, but I thought overall the Eagles, based on what I saw and what I'd heard, the Eagles D line for the most part dominated both days, as they should, because they're just they match up super well. And Wentz's practice was so funny because there were so many there's a lot of pushing and shoving. There was one where there was a scrum, but the coaches quickly came in there and separated them. But I thought to finish this off, secondary had its moments.
How did Nelson do against some speed guys? Because
I saw him get beat once, but see, the thing is, they're not exactly running the full field. They don't do that a lot in joint practices. You're just doing specific drills.
Right.
So, yeah, did he get beat over the top? Yeah, but I don't know. Because they'd stop. Okay, the guy catches it and he runs out of it because he just runs a little bit and then he stops. But he also did a good job of keeping guys in front of him. He is really physical. You could see that up close at practice. He's a different style corner than they've had before. I will be interested to see, and also what we hear, the cornerback position, the backups are going to be fascinating. In fact, what I would tell you folks when you watch the game tomorrow night on Friday, it's not about the starters. It's about the backups, the bottom end guys. The guys you need to be watching are Elijah Riley, who's had a good camp. Craig James. Well, Craig James is not healthy right now. Guys like Gray and Arnold, we've said before, who's opened some eyes. Andre Patton,
Johnson, right? Andre Patton, right?
Yeah,
there you go.
Actually, I'm told has had a good week.
Good.
He's long and he had some really nice plays. I still think he's a major long shot. The bottom of the Raekwon Williams, Tui Pelotu. These are guys you should be watching because these are the guys who need reps. These are bottom of the roster guys. This is what the last preseason game is all about. It's never about the starters. It's about the guys who are fighting because these guys could be claimed off waivers if they don't make it.
All right. Well, that is a good summation then and something to look forward to Friday night when the Eagles and Jets finish out their preseason. And then after that, Adam, it'll be a wild, wacky, crazy 48 hours and beyond, and we'll have it all covered. So make sure you're checking out our next pod, which will be our 53-man projection pod that'll come out Monday morning. And then after that, I'm sure we'll be we may even have to do some emergency type of ITB in case something really big happens. So we'll have you covered as we always do. So that's about it. That's it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. I want to thank our producer, Hunter Brody. Check out his work on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads. You can find him on Twitter at Broads81 and his website, broadsmedia.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.